Hello and welcome to Two Old Dogs and One New Trick, where we help you win the job search one question at a time. I'm Dan Troop, and this is John Hadley. John, today's question is, should I save my best questions for the end of the interview? What do you think?
I think absolutely not. There are a couple reasons for this. One is that if they're your best questions, why would you save them for the time when you have very little time to get into them? And as an interviewer, I'm going to be saying, wow, Dan had a really good question here. I wonder if he even realizes it's a good question because he waited until we have 2 minutes left at the end to ask me it. We could have gone into so much about this. And so I'm now questioning your judgment. The other is that there's a psychology that people get into that I'm so worried I'm going to run out of questions. I'm worried that we'll get to the end and they'll say, do you have any more questions? I don't have any. So I save up these questions because of them. Well, if you're working to turn this into a conversation like we've talked about, and you're asking questions throughout, if you've asked me a lot of good questions during the interview, then at the end, if I say, do you have any other questions? You say, well, actually, you've done a really good job of answering my questions. Can I give you a call if I think of something else? I'll be fine with that because we've had a really good conversation. It's hard to believe you won't have anything because if you've had a really good conversation, it's probably surfaced some things. But even if the answer is just, well, I just have one last question. When do I start? What do you think, Dan?
Well, I definitely agree with you. Holding your questions until the end is not a winning strategy, for the interview. The best interviews are actually conversations. So just like you come prepared to an interview with good stories, you want to come in with some relevant questions that are going to essentially demand that the interviewer answer you back and provide some insight. And so they should be questions that you really care about. And their insight is going to prompt additional conversation or additional response from you. And then what do you know? It's not an interview anymore, it's a conversation. So you come prepared to the interview with these good stories. We talk about star stories all the time. Instead, come with Stark stories. And I would say it's Stark spelled with a Q, not a K. So for your big stories, make sure that you've got a relevant question so that I can tell my story and then ask the question at the end of the story and listen to the response. And no longer do I have an interview. Now I've got a great conversation and I'm going to be more memorable. So that's how I see it.
That's our tip for this time, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.